The other way that my business serves me is through those stories that I was telling on YouTube. It connected with this particular organization, and then they went to my agent and they booked me to have a keynote. I used that money. Let me tell you what I used that money to do. Let me just tell you, because I'm trying to show you that it's not just word of mouth. I used it to buy tiles for my house. And the tiles were not cheap. When I work with when I put my, another way is, how do you tell your stories are working? I recently got featured in a magazine, and that magazine led me to get 2 clients. And I was sharing my story. How did the magazine find me? The magazine read the Mango Girl story in an article somewhere else. So I'm sitting in a house right now in the Caribbean that I'm building out of the Mango Girl, my book, my story. What do I mean by that? It is what has helped me to manifest buying the land, to build the house, to be able to sit in it and say, actually, my book did something for me. So how do you measure the ROI? You put the KPIs out there and you make sure they're measurable. And everything I do now, when I spoke in Poland a few years ago, and I was paid handsomely. My children and I were flown out to Poland, put in a nice hotel, pick up with chauffeur, everything because of my story. Is that not my book making room for me? If that's not it, then I don't know what is. Everything I do now is based on my book. My book is my business. My book is my business card. And I help my clients to do the same.
That's fantastic. Now,
Yes.
why is storytelling? Because now we can see a trend here. Because the story you told us from the beginning was what made you to write the book. In fact, that is what you wrote inside the book. Only that you are so intelligent, you managed to frame it in the way that it can serve you, and now it is serving you. But my question, my curiosity actually is, why is storytelling this important for business? Is there maybe an emotional twist to it that we need to know how to master? Let me understand that.
That's a fantastic question. Storytelling is important for businesses because, stories help you connect, right? And stories help us connect to people because sometimes, let's fail, not all of us are good at just sharing straight content. But storytelling is a way to communicate with your customers. People communicate through stories and commonality. So rather than just listing facts about products and services, it really helps your customers and prospects to have an emotional and a human connection, right? It increases awareness and engagement. And therefore, it is really, really important that we understand that storytelling provides key insights in businesses, it presents new perspective, it helps us to interpret complex information, and it inspires us to do action. So those are some of the things why we need to do storytelling. When it is done well, it can be such a turnaround for a brand. It can build legacy. It can create a robust marketing strategy for you. There's an amazing guy called Grant Cardone, and all Grant Cardone does is tell stories. And the amount of profit he's generated and won loyal customers because of the affection that is coming from the audience. But the reality is that the audience can connect and they have commonality, right? And a lot of people don't understand that storytelling can grow your business. People feel that you can create brand loyalty. It make people make decisions based on what they believe in. It humanizes situations and increase profit. Is better for marketing, and it attracts new collaborators. Here we are. It's my story that attracted you to me. Here's another example. So it attracts employees, collaborators, etc. So if you're there and you haven't got a book or you haven't told your story, you are wasting time.
I have another thing to ask you. Now, you said something very important that you need to know how to tell the story well. That is not something to be taken for granted. Now, I don't know if you want to share anything with me in terms of what can be the key element of a business storytelling that beginners should know. Okay, beginner in this case, maybe it might be people in the African diaspora community because that is our target audience. What are the key elements of business storytelling that they should know?
I think the key elements of business storytelling is to really first of all sit down. Like I said, the stick man. Remember I talk about that stick man? and just really map out your story, right? Map out what you're going to talk about. How are they relevant? So there's some stories I tell. Okay, so for example, right now I'm writing a book. I've just finished writing a book. We're about to make a documentary with women, but I'm not going to say much because I'm tied to contract. But it's around a story, and let me tell you what the story is. The story is how myself and about at the moment about 30 people around the world in different countries: Botswana, Tanzania, Ghana, Jamaica, England, South Africa, Ecuador, Argentina, and other countries have been conned by a so-called Hollywood movie maker. And I can't say it, but there's a documentary on Netflix called Don't F with Cats, right? It's something like that. And basically what the story is around is how this guy really goes around. He's a black guy, he's a gay black guy, and he preys on predominantly black people who have good stories, and he feels that he wants them to become movies. And he takes money off you, and he disappears. I lost about 100,000 US dollars with this guy. Now, how do I use that in my business? I just spoke at the festival for the Staff College in London last month. And I use that in my storytelling, in my keynote presentation, to share about how I have lost money, how I had to forgive myself of that shame, but how I have bounced back, how I've been resilient. And I use that to share. So I use that story to share that in businesses, we are going to have failures, but failure is feedback. And that failure is saying to us, we need to go back to the drawing board and really look at what have we done wrong? Where did we miss the red flags? How did we not analyze this properly? Did we make emotive decisions, or did we look at the viability? You get what I mean? So you need to sit down and really map out the relevance of the story to that particular angle of your business. Now, when I am doing training sessions, which I do, I just finished a customer service one for the National Works Agency in Jamaica, which is a government company. And I've just been rebooked to speak at that company based on the feedback we got from that training. Now, in that training, I really use the story, and I'm telling you how I use the story. When I was introduced, it was a nice, fluffy bio of really who I am, Dr. Ava Brown, and she's done this and all the things they say were true. But then when I stood up to speak, I then made the audience relax because I was just they had just put out this big profile. Everybody looked uncomfortable. And I thought, I'm not going to have an 8-hour training session with a group of people who feels like I'm high above them. So I started by saying, hello, everyone. Good morning. All that you have heard is true. But let me introduce to you who I really am. I'm a little girl from St. Elizabeth, Jamaica. That's me, who sold mangoes on the tree. I was sexually abused by my father. I have sold mangoes. I know poverty. I know what it is like to be hungry. And I related to them. And let me tell you something. It changed the entire training day to the point where managers had to be called to come in and see that at 4 o'clock, when they should be wrapping up, people were engaged like crazy. Because throughout the training day, I shared my story at every chance I got, and it made a difference. So that's one of the things. So the 3 key elements you need to do is number 1 is to figure out what story is relevant to what action of your business. Number 2, make sure there's context. Then you talk about actions you've taken and the results you've gotten. That is how you do it. You need to be consistent when you're speaking around your brand, because business storytelling can be tricky. You have to know the inside out before you even present it to customers. But once you get it, I guarantee you it's going to make a difference to your bottom line. I hope that was useful.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it.